Today, we're finally starting on the Shovelhead.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll go show. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this.
Merry Christmas, YouTube! I got a present for you. Today is the first official Wideglide video. It's not just a old bike that I acquired. It's not just a pile of metal and oil and gasoline. It's very special to me. It was my dad's bike. It was my dad's first motorcycle, his first Harley Davidson. Let's talk a little bit about history on the Wideglide. I went onto a website, oldnewsclub.com, and they had a whole article on the Wideglide. It was one of the first Harleys that got upgraded to the 80 cubic inch Shovelhead engine. Also one of the few models that had the kickstart and electric start at the same time. This was actually the very first production chopper that Harley came out and said, hey, we're making a production chopper. Now, a lot of people want to say that the FXR was the first official production chopper. However, FXR came out in 1982. That was the first year for the FXR. The FXWG, 1980. The reason why a lot of people don't realize that the Wideglide was the first one is because in 1980, Harley also came out with the FXB, the Sturgis. It stole the limelight from the Wideglide. It had a belt drive primary and a belt drive final drive. And that was cool for the time because nobody did it. So, you know, that one, you know, obviously that was cool, that was neat, that was rad. The Wideglide was kind of like shoved in the shadows. The Wideglide actually took parts from the 1970 FLH. It took the front end. What they did different with the front end, with the Wideglide versus the FLH, there should be metal tins right here. Everyone on the FLH, you're gonna look up pictures like, well, what the hell is going on? Metal tin right here, similar to that on the Fat Boy. They took all that off, polished the triple tree, also took the Fat Bob or bobber tanks, those big fat tanks like you see here on the Softail. Those are the bobber tanks. Now, on the FLH, they were 3.5 gallon, okay? When they put them on the Wideglide, they increased it to 5 gallon, which is how the Wideglide got its nickname as the Bob and a Half. It did come stock with the red and yellow flames with white outline and the black backdrop. And eventually it went from dual disc brakes to just a single. The personal history, like I said, this was my dad's bike. The significance in my own personal history with this bike was this was the first Harley I ever saw, the first Harley I ever rode. You'll see pictures. I have a picture of me and my dad on this bike. Now, when this bike first came into the family, it was two-tone. It was like blue and gray. It had the stock carburetor and a few stock handlebars I think it had. My dad ended up stripping the paint, painting it maroon, adding ape hangers and a few other cosmetics to make it more custom and original to him and his personality. But this bike was one that started me having a love for motorcycles. And, you know, here we are now. I'm the ginger bearded biker, you know. So I remember how it ended up in this condition, which was when I was about 12 years old. The old man, he's like, I'm gonna take this apart so I can save money and I wanna get the frame powder coated. I'm like, all right. So I think I was 12 at the time or around 12. Strips it down, right? I come over one weekend. My parents were split. He got me every other weekend. So I show up one weekend and this thing's sitting in his kitchen. And I'm just looking. And at this point, like, I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised because I was like, okay, this is just normal for being at Dad's house. And it was in the kitchen. And I was like, why is this in the kitchen? He's like, because it's too cold to work on it outside. So I'm like, okay, it makes sense. But there's a motorcycle in my dad's kitchen. He did get the frame powder coat. He never got the bike put back together before he passed away. So now it's my job, my quest to get this rebuilt and put back together so that I can continue with my dad's legacy of his love for Harleys, because that man, he was a biker through and through. Everything involved something with motorcycles. So that's the whole gist of it. So what we're going to focus on in this video is I'm going to remove the tanks and I'm going to take this engine out. And we're going to disassemble the engine. We're going to look what's on the inside, see what needs to be replaced internally, and go from there. We're also going to get into the big box of parts that I have. I have a whole truck toolbox sitting over here full of parts. So between this box and I have a full bike. Unfortunately, the majority of the parts are not going to be usable or reusable. So we're just going to have to figure out what we're going to do. Well, the first thing is, let me show you this box of parts just so you know what I am dealing with. And inside is Wideglide. There's the dash, air cleaner cover. There's the carburetor. I have different options for taillight lenses. Here's the actual stock taillight mount. There's the derby cover, regulator rectifier cover. Here's the starter. That is the regulator rectifier right there. That's part of the battery box. There's the oil tank right here. I have a bunch of parts in here. So, let me stop talking and let's pull this engine. I got it on the stand. I put it on the floor. Definitely didn't want this toppling over. We're going to take it apart. We're going to look it over. First thing, the rocker boxes. The reason why this is called a Shovelhead is because the heads resemble a coal shovel. Now, I don't personally see it, but this is a Shovelhead. And how the rockers, because rockers are in the chrome part, they're held on these studs. There's studs that go into the head, and there's little nuts that's supposed to be on here. So that's another thing I gotta order. And these studs, some of them are bent, so I may need to order new studs. So, but they're just on there. Now, unlike the Evo, down here is the bolts that bolt the heads to the cylinder. On an Evo, there's studs that come up through the cylinder and then head bolts that go down through the head and clamp everything down together. And then the rockers are three-piece and go on top. This, the heads come off and you can keep the cylinder, you can keep the rockers on top because it's just these bolts, and there's 4 of them. Or 1, 2, 3. There's 5 of them. Sorry. I think I have just one in just to keep it on. But there's no nuts on the studs for the rockers, so we could just pull the rocker boxes off. It's a little bit difficult, like I said, some of these studs. Take this head off and check the underside. Valves don't look too bad, but the valve seats are all rusted. So this whole head is going to have to be redone. And I might, because I see, if you notice, these heads have, looks like helicoils in it. So those were drilled out. For some reason, those heads were drilled out. So I may end up buying new heads. This one looks a lot better. The valve seats, there's no rust or anything. So this one also has helicoils in it. The threads were messed up on these heads apparently, but these are STD heads, which are really good heads. But I don't know how I feel about having helicoils as the threads. So the inside of the rear cylinder definitely needs to be honed. Some rust in there, but other than that, cylinders look good. Front cylinder, yeah, it's got rust. Cylinder's not that bad. All I'd have to do is pretty much just hone it out. I shouldn't have to hone it out much, just enough to get the rust off. So that's where we're at. All right, everything else looks like it's all the other fasteners look like they're still tightened up. Let me grab some tools, because now I'm at the point where stuff is tightened and I have to untighten it, and then we will continue this disassembly. And we're going to take these cylinders off. I was able to get all the nuts off of the front cylinder, but the rear cylinder, this one acorn nut is just giving me a problem. So I'm going to soak that with penetrating solvent, and hopefully we can get that loosened up. I'm going to pop this front cylinder off. Here we go. And it doesn't want to move. Of course it doesn't want to move. Why is it like this? Ugh. Yeah, so a lot of people go for WD-40. I like PB Blaster. It's the freaking best. And hopefully it can get down whatever's holding that. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and might as well just hit the tap bits up. And the screws on that. Okay, I am back. So, I got all the screws out of the tappets here. I was able to loosen up this front cylinder. Let's pull this cylinder head off. There we go. There's cylinder. There's the bottom of it. There's a little notch right here. That's for the clearance for the crank. And now she doesn't want to move. There we go. So let's push her out. Okay. So there's that. Now, spray down these last two nuts on the rear head. And get a little bit more of this just so we can prep for that. Alright. So we're going to let that sit a little bit more, but we still have stuff we can take apart without worrying about that. Let's go ahead. I'm going to, now normally, oh, now I lost the lifter. So that's going to happen when you lift that out, but there it is. There you have it. And this just drops out and it's two-piece, and there's a tappet. Now, two-piece. And we'll go ahead and take the nose cone out before taking this out so y'all can see how it all sits in there. This is a gasket, actually. It's a bad gasket. I like the rubber ones because this will, one of the problems I had on my Evo was like water would get in here. That needs to be replaced. But this is the electronic timing. This is getting upgraded because this piece, this whole thing, this whole assembly, even in the Evo, notorious for just becoming faulty. So this is definitely something I'm upgrading. So all you do, get this out, these studs, which is where those screws screwed into. Might need a bigger screwdriver. Yeah, I'm gonna get a bigger screwdriver. I'm gonna do a little bit of this too. Oh. Yeah. Blaster, man. I love it. Just unscrew them. Since I plan on just upgrading this, I might just cut this wire. In fact, I think I'm gonna have to. Anyway. Let's try to get this nose cone off. And it's a little tight, so we're going to be gingerly about it. Ginger-bearded biker being gingerly. Go. Alright. So there it is. So, real quick, on the inside of the cone here, there's a little oil seal here. That's going to be replaced. On the back side here, you got little space. This is a plastic spacer or nylon that goes right here, which we'll get over there in a minute. And then you have these different surfaces too. This is a plain, not a plain bearing, but or bushing. This is a bushing. This is a bushing. but that's the inside of there. And this plate here is just because that's an open cavity from manufacturer, so they decided to close that up. All right, so that needs to be cleaned. All the old gasket needs to be come off of that, and a new one installed, but we're not doing that today. Let's set that out of the way. But there is still oil in this, which is good. There we go, come on. There we go, get that one out. And this one, stamped R for rear. So there we go. This is the cam. This is the crankshaft. And this little thing over here is the breather. So with the cam, I'm just gonna pop that out. There's a little spacer here. Keep that, you know, I'm going all the way into the bearing. There's a roller bearing in here, a needle style roller bearing. And that's the camshaft. Now this is something that's normally removed and upgraded. So this is just plastic, but this is the breather. And as it rotates, it has this little screen here. And as it rotates, it allows the air in here to go through a channel that comes up on this. I don't remember where it comes up out of. On the Evo, it comes out the breather bolt. So there you have it with that. Cam chest is pretty much taken apart. I decided to go ahead and stop where we're at. Sitting here thinking, I decided I'm going to get the manual out and read through that before continuing. I'm kind of breaking my own rule by not having the service manual with me. Other than that, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, and all that other stuff that everyone asks everyone to do. And keep the rubber side on the road, and I'll catch you all next week. Later.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit.